Hey guys, Call the Arms here with Matt Pazlansky, and this is a new segment on my channel called Mondays with Matt. This will just be going over what questions you guys have if you put them in the comment box on YouTube or on my Twitter, or if any friends I'll ask them if they have any questions about my videos. And one question I got from my friend in Indiana, he said, what temperature is steel easily worked? Now, it depends on what you want to do. This is an easy question to answer. This is a hard question to answer. If you want to draw out a piece of bar stock that needs hot work, of course. That's like orange to a dull red work, and that's about. I have notes here. I will have notes during this because I will not be able to remember everything. That's for tool steels. That's orange. That's around 1800 degrees, and you can work it to dull red. That's about 1200 degrees. But the lower you bring that temperature down, the more likely it is to crack. But before and after, even after it's after the dull red has gone away, you have a black heat, and that's what it's easily explained. The metal or your stock is black. You can still do some changes in that. If you touch it, you still can get burned. It's just not hot enough to show color. Now, if you want to do small changes in a blade, like after heat treat, when you bring it up to critical temperature where it doesn't have any magnetism, like you put a magnet on it, it sticks, you quench it, and then after you do tempering, it can have some warpage in the blade. And you can do that with a cold, or you can take an acetylene torch and just do that in small little spots and hammer it out, and then do that. That way, or put it in a vise and slowly straighten it. Now, hot work, when you're forming the bevel of your sword, that's the actual cutting edge, and where you bring it down to that fine point. So like if my hand here is the middle of my knife, or it's the backbone of my knife, pretend like this wrist here is the backbone of my knife, it will come down to look like a point like this, and it'll be kind of straight, like, and the bevel would look like this. This would be like a hollow grind, and then like a flat grind. That's that about heat. And then you can do with you need to do forge welding, where you have your piece of metal here and you have your piece of metal here, and they're close together. They're cleaned off, and they're like a 240 grit polish, or you just with a rotary disc, 6-inch disc wheel, cleaned off. Make sure there's no oil or anything for the manufacturer on there. You would heat it up, put borax in it, put borax on the side to act as a flux to block the oxygen and create little pockets in it. Hammer that flat, and then go from there, and you just draw it out after that, after the weld is done. I'm trying to think what else. The fuller of the sword, the part that adds the depression in the center of the sword, that needs to be done hot. Anything else? I'm trying to think of. You have annealing, or not annealing, but normalizing the blade. That's when you put it in, you bring it up to a red, and you let it air cool down nice and slow to where you can touch it, and that will remove the stresses in it. But the range of colors that work with it, you'll have about 1200 degrees, you'll have a dull red. 1400 degrees, this is in Fahrenheit, you'll have a red. 1500, you'll have about a cherry red. 1600, full cherry red. 1800 degrees, you'll have an orange, and this is pretty much the cutoff point for most, in the color range for most tool steels. 1900 degrees, you have an orangish yellow, and then for 2000 degrees, you have a yellow, and then you have a 2200 degrees, that's a full yellow, and then 2400 degrees is a light yellow. Now, steel melts at around 2500 degrees, and I know my welding torch, my acetylene torch at Stillman Valley ran at about 5500 degrees. So to forge weld it together, you need to bring it up to that yellowish orange, bright yellowish orange color, and then you pretty much hammer it flat, and that allows the pieces of metal to fuse together. Hot work. folding too, that works. That's when you're doing Damascus steel. That's when you have a dark steel and a light steel and you're making the pattern. You need to do that. You can do hot punches with that, or hot cuts too. Of course, casting, that needs to be done hot. It's liquid metal and you pour it into a mold. Let's see what else here. You don't need to do everything though when it's hot. Like some rivets you can set when they're cold, like for small articulating pieces of armor. But the way I want to do my swords, I'll have my tang, which is like on the point of a file that runs up where the handle goes in. I'll have my crossguard, and then I'll have my, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here. I'll have my handle, and then I'll have my pommel, and then my tang will come off. I'll cut whatever is too much, I think, off, and then I'll heat that up with a small butane torch that my dad has, and I'll hammer that flat with a ball peen hammer. Arrowheads, you need to make them hot. You can do stock removal with knives and swords, which is you just take a bar of metal and you just CNC or take a file to it and remove the metal you don't want, and that's pretty much, it is what it says. But you run into problems with that too, because you can only work with as big as a piece you have, and it doesn't allow you as much flexibility as a forge allows you to. You can do curves too. You have to do those hot. And if you're working your metal and it gets too cold, or if it's too cold, you can crack it. I mean, you have to worry about eventually grain growth where the crystals in the steel get too big and your blade can crack and it's useless after that. You can't even recycle the steel, I think. Some chainmailers normalize their steel too, take away all the stresses in the rings. I don't, because I don't have anything to normalize it in right now. I don't have a propane tank for my Farrier's forge to normalize them, which I would just heat it up, see them red hot, then I would just turn it off, close it, let them cool down, and then just start the process over again. I think I'll wrap that section of it up, and then I'll do with Mondays with Matt as my plans for the week. I'm gonna try and get a charcoal video out here for you guys. My parents really don't want me doing one on my property, but I'm gonna see if I can get over to a friend's house and do it, and I'll do that with you. See, now this is my new camera, and I can just go from there. Let's see here, what else do I have to talk about? That's about it, but I got my new camera. I'm done for video equipment for now. My next camera I might get is a head-mounted camera, so that way then you guys can see what I'm doing, like with my hands in first person type deal. That'll probably be around December, if at the latest. But I will be getting my forging stuff first, and then I'll be making a Bowie knife or sax knife. Let me know what you guys want me to make first, and then I'm saving the two-handed dagger, or the two-bladed dagger, for last. That'll probably be like a Scottish dirk. I think that's about it, so let me guys know what you guys think, and yeah, thanks for watching Call to Arms, and subscribe to my channel, like my video, and leave plenty of questions for my video next Friday with Mondays with Matt.